Hello! Welcome to log number 3. Finally, we start to make a book. In this entry, I will cover story, research and reference, layout, sketching, and some technical aspects. In the previous entry, I had talked about how I had done some experimenting with different mediums. And so now I want to test myself by giving myself an assignment. And the assignment is to make a picture book. In this video, you will see me drawing. This is actually a reenactment of me drawing the book. I have found it extremely hard to try to figure out the pages and the composition and how to think freely while there was a camera on me. So this is a reenactment. But anyways, as we were. So for inspiration, I went to my bookshelf to see what folklore stories I might find. I ended up finding this Swedish one, a short, it's not even a whole page long. It's called
Skogsrå vid Lapptjärnsfjäll.
That's a mouthful to say, but the story is quite short. The story is about a man who works in the woods as a charcoal burner and is being tormented by a
Skogsrå.
I don't know how to say it, but the creature teases the man and asks for his name, but the man, not wanting to give his name to a troll, says, "My name is myself." The man is not afraid of the creature. However, night after night, the creature comes to the doorway of the man's cabin and yells with its big mouth, resulting in a very sleepy charcoal burner. The man thinks of a plan to remedy the situation. And one night, while waiting for the creature to arrive, the man prepares a boiling pot of tar. Then, when the creature takes its place in the doorway and begins its yelling, the man tosses the tar into the creature's mouth. The creature runs out into the woods in pain and in panic, yelling, "Myself has burned me! Myself has burned me!" And the reply from the woods and the creatures of the woods is, "You burned yourself? Then you only have yourself to blame." And in agony and probably embarrassment, the creature runs away, leaving the charcoal burner in peace. So a short and comical story that I thought would make for a good test. But before I even start drawing, I do some research on the story. I always do research, because it gives me more ideas and references to work with. I also like to learn about the folk stories and the worlds around them. Personally, I find historical everyday living interesting, and I like to use the opportunity to learn about it and also pass it on in my art. So a few main points I want to look into are charcoal burning, what it is, what would a charcoal burner wear and how would they live, and I also want to look into the creature. So, the main character in this story is a charcoal burner. Charcoal burners are men who would live in the woods and make charcoal to sell, akin to what we may use for barbecues. They would do this by cutting down trees and building a big fire stack. This stack had to be constantly tended and burned slowly to produce the charcoal, a very laborious job. Why make charcoal? Well, it is very important for the smelting of iron, which leads to the development of tools and society and so forth. Interesting, the importance of charcoal burning. It's a small detail in this story, but in regards to history, it's a huge detail. Very cool. There's always something to learn. But anyways, it seems that charcoal burners could wear whatever they wanted to. Probably a rough shirt, pants, something to keep warm in, but I gave my character more recognizable clothes to place him in 1800s Sweden. And charcoal burners live in huts. Because they move around a lot, going from one forest to the next woods, these huts were simply constructed and just large enough for the charcoal burner. They were often triangular, like an A-frame, made with planks of wood and insulated by putting dirt and moss on top. They would have a little fireplace and a hole for the smoke to go out of. The next main factor is the creature, the
Skogsrå.
but we will just refer to the creature as creature. This creature is not unique to this story. She is presented in many folktales in various ways, but she's always a kind of woman spirit of the woods. She can have a tail, her back can be covered in tree bark, or sometimes there's a gaping hole there. She usually tries to hide this from viewers, and she is a temptress of men. And even though these elements do not appear in this telling of the story, I like to keep them in mind for the design of the character. And it is with this research and references that I do the character sketches. So next I do an extremely rough layout to help me pace the story and figure out the page count. Once that's figured out, I start sketching. When I am laying out a book, I like to do this on loose leaf paper. That way I can easily flip through the pages and rearrange them and see everything easily. For anyone who wants to know, this is how I do my comics as well. So lots of drawing and redrawing. At this point, I am putting down ideas, working out problems, and discovering new problems. And if you really want to know, it was at this point I was having second thoughts and thinking about tossing the entire project. That didn't take long, did it? If I had quit though, that would have defeated the purpose of the assignment, to use new methods and mediums to create a story. Anyways, I should be able to problem solve and make any story interesting. That's my job. So I treated it as if somebody else told me to do the book, and I kept on. If you are also experiencing doubt in the middle of a project, I don't have any advice for you, only to just ignore it and keep going. So I was getting stuck on the design of the creature. At first I drew her as a woman. I wanted her feminine, but it was not fitting the vibes. The more I thought about it too, and the more I thought about sending her away crying at the end, the more it did not sit right with me. This was supposed to be fun and lighthearted, and suddenly it was starting to feel a little icky. And after I gave myself permission to draw her like a troll and see how that looks, I felt way better about the design. I was also hung up on how to draw the door frame. I don't know why I was getting stuck on this. I think I was just overthinking it. I just needed to sit down and scribble and not care. The more time the pencil is on the paper, the more things reveal themselves. If thinking does not work, then just draw. So I drew the story once, then I drew it again and again and again until I had some sketches and compositions I was happy with. If I liked something about a drawing, I would use my light box to trace on a new piece of paper what I wanted to keep and then redraw the rest. Does a light box count as technology? During this process, I did notice a bad habit sneaking up. The habit of drawing what I think is expected, specifically with round shapes and such. So I went back with design in mind and made some adjustments, putting in hard straight lines versus puffy round lines. It's all mind games, I tell ya. But here's some technical things you should know about while making your book. Keep in mind the size of your final book and trim, and also where the words are going to go. I'll explain this real briefly, but maybe this might require its own short video. So the live space is the safe space. Your important text should be within this area. Trim is about where the pages of the book will be cut. Bleed extends outside the trim and is for colors or images you want to go to the very edge of the page. I am making my pages an 8x8. Part of this reason is so that it can fit on the paper that I have. But it is a square, and a standard picture size book could be 8.5 by 8.5, so that is what I am aiming at. Squares give me some options, I hope. I think for this book, I will keep all my images in the live space and not have things going off into the bleed. Also, during the designing of a book, keep in mind where the words are going to go. I have predetermined where the words will go using lines as seen here. I do not have my final words decided on. Maybe this will hurt me later, but I have some idea. Hopefully this is not foreshadowing anything. So far, so good. I still have some pages that are not quite nailed down, but I can get back to those. For this book, I may do things a little out of order, but I am my own boss. If I am a little stuck on a page or tired of thinking about it, I could work on another part of the book and come back to the troublesome page with a fresh brain later. If I were doing this for a client, the process would be more orderly and straightforward. So, I had done some experimenting, some research, some sketches, some design, and finally, in the next episode, we get to start painting. How will it go and what will we learn? Tune in next time. See ya!